the EU test. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. I've just seen. What do you see? What do you see?
Escape it.
Yeah. Oh, I know why. I'll stop sharing. It's the way that PowerPoint works, like, when you're casting to the screen.
We'll be with you in just a couple of minutes, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's yeah, that's right. We need to share the screen. I can stand there. Hannah doesn't need to share the screen as such then. We think we want to share the screen. See. Okay. Okay. Please carry.
Why don't we just not share my screen and do it from there? That would make sense, isn't it?
What?
Don't share my screen.
Okay. Really, it's more about what I'm saying.
Okay, ready to go? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anna Lucas. I am the director of Supersonic Phonic Friends, recently validated by the Department for Education, meeting their 16-point core essential criteria just before Christmas. So we're absolutely delighted about that, and I know lots of you know that already. I'm here today down in London with Clevertouch, using one of their Clevertouch screens to talk to you about all things that are phonics, letting you have a little bit of information about Supersonic Phonic Friends, but also as well key things that, you know, crucial elements that we need to consider in schools right now, regardless of what scheme you are using in terms of supporting your lowest 20% of readers, considering your cusp of catch up or keep up readers, those children that aren't on the lowest 20% radar, but actually they're children that need to be on your radar. I'll also touch about decodable text as well. I know there's lots and lots of sort of talk about decodable text, but one thing I want to say to you is please do not throw any books out. There is a solution to this, and you can contact me after today to talk through those solutions as well. I've worked with lots of schools now, and the only books that we've thrown out are dog-eared books that have seen better days, that are basically going back to the 1980s. We're also powered by Juno today. I've been lucky enough to work with the Juno sound processing. I can't think of the word, my brain's gone. Thank you. Development team, thank you. And actually ran a case study about Juno in the classroom and the impact that it had on phonics. So we know that phonics is all about being able to hear the sounds in the words that we speak, and then be able to fuse the sounds that we can hear with what the spellings actually looks like. And because the sound field system helps kind of give crystal clear sound to the room, it helps children hear those sounds better. And one of the things we'll hear in my phrase is, we hear the sounds in our words really well, we look at our maps to see and spell. And actually, those children that can't hear those sounds in the words are the children that struggle for that application into reading and writing. So it's absolutely crucial that they can hear those sounds. Okay, so what is Supersonic? It meets the needs of your children. I think that's really, really key to remember. There's lots of talk at the moment about how many guided reads should I do a week? How many phonics sessions should I do a week? Supersonic Phonic Friends is a flexible resource that you use to meet the needs of your children, and your school don't meet the needs of Supersonic. And that flexible, precise and targeted approach for your children is absolutely key. So some days or some weeks, a particular group of children that have got particular targets over the next few weeks, we want to get them from A to B, right? How are we going to do that? What does the roadmap look like? Actually, yeah, they're going to need 3 guided reads. They're going to need one-to-one reading for 5 minutes a day. They're going to need pre-teach phonics, post-teach phonics. They get invited to Phonics Club. We're throwing everything at them to get to that point. So it's that thinking about what strategies you have got, teaching and learning strategies you've got to get a child from that point to that point. Some children will just need a tiny bit, and some children will need absolutely everything. And they are your lowest 20% and the cusp of keep up. It injects new life and fun into the teaching of phonics. The alphabet code made simple and easy for teachers and children. So helpful phrases. So if you think about the word rain, you've got the spelling AI in the middle. And if you think about the word play, you've got AI at the end. So we say it sounds the same, but it looks different. If we hear the sound in the middle, we can choose to use AI. If we hear the sound at the end, we choose to use AY, my friend. And you can see that it's very much wrapped in rhyme, as rhymers make good readers and writers eventually. We've got our Supersonic Phonic Friends as a hook for teaching and learning, and that crucial application into reading and writing. And it's a real balance of reading and writing. They come hand in hand. We've got Rex and Ron, they are twins, the reading and writing twins, that we make sure that when we write, we read, we write. So children know that they work together, and that we don't have a phonics scheme that's taking us all the way up here on reading. So children are excellent readers, but their writing, there's a significant disparity between their reading and writing skills. Absolute consistency across the teaching of phonics. I think that's really, really important. We want to make sure that all children are having a first-class phonics experience, and that no child is being disadvantaged. And you will all know those, where that phonic broom cupboard, where that little group, probably your lowest 20%, get taken off for their phonics, and they get taken out of their learning environment. They get taken out of having access to an interactive touch screen. And actually the environment that they are working in doesn't promote what is around them in the classroom, again, for the application into reading and writing. So what this does is it ensures that wherever we are around the school, that children are getting first-class teaching of phonics, regardless of who is teaching them or in which platform it is being presented in. There's over 100 lessons, consistent steps in teaching. Phase 1 resources, that phonological awareness. I'm going to talk to you about that. The ability to be able to hear the sounds in the words that we speak. And over 100 supporting phonic burst resources for every spelling for a sound. And that is for pre-teach, post-teach, 5-minute follow-up phonics, microphonic burst for your lowest 20% and those children that need to keep up with their phonics, so that we don't end up in this catch-up sort of end up having to catch up later on. There's an equal balance of reading and writing. I've already mentioned that. We've got some of our writing here, there, a car on the moon, a cow on the surf. There's the right words. We do speed spell, find the spellings, physical phonics and alternatives, and outdoor alternatives, high quality text links. So if I'm teaching the spelling for the sound oo, then I might read the book with the children, Pooh at the Zoo, or Who's in the Loo, and actually pointing out to the children, look, there is your phonics, and seeing where that phonics is. Decodable text links. I'll talk to you about decodables, really high on every school's agenda right now. I spoke to a head teacher this morning that said, I'm tying myself in knots about it. I don't know what to do. I said, right, here's the solution. This is what we need to do. And I promise you, we won't be throwing any books out. Environmental print links, so that wider environment. Weekly parent newsletters to engage with our parents, to let them know what the children are being taught, what they have been taught, what they are being taught, what they're going to be taught. Parent-friendly home activities, parent workshops, and we also offer high-quality training as well. So these are our Supersonic Phonic Friends. Each of these characters has a very special skill. And the first one, and I'm not going to make everybody here at Clevertouch do it, although I might do, we listen with Len, so you don't need a pen. And we start every single lesson with that we listen with Len. Len says, what can we see in the phonic TV? And we do initial sounds, we do alliteration, and then we do a super segment and a brilliant blend to help us to hear the word at the end. And that is all that phonological awareness, the ability to be able to hear the sounds in the words that we speak, so that we ensure that phase one phonics, just because we've moved on to the basics 2 or what was phase 2, that children are still practicing those skills, because we are working on a sound processing system. And actually, our children, when they get to, and we don't teach supersonic towards the year 1 screening check, I just want to put that caveat in there. However, our schools that have been using supersonic have seen outstanding results. So our year 2 children that took the test at the beginning of September, 35%, supersonic, they're now at 95%. And that is because the listening skills are so important and the absolute priority of Supersonic Phonic Friends. So regardless of whether you're teaching phase 2 or the higher levels of phonics at phase 5, Len starts every single lesson, and they know they have to listen with Len, so they don't need a pen. They also listen with Len before they pick up a pen. And a really good top tip, those children who struggle to hear the sounds in the words that we speak, and that's why the Juno comes in really well there, because it amplifies the sounds and gets into children's brains deeper in their sound processing area of their brain. But those children that can hear those sounds, they struggle to hear those sounds, it's that over rehearsal of oral blending and segmenting. So I'm sure you've all got a pen in your hand right now. So if you'll pick up your pen, okay, put your pen down. So we listen with Len before we pick up a pen. So the children, they're about to practice their phonics, and they're going to write, they're doing phase 4, CCVC words. So I say, right, we're going to write the word plum. So they know, they listen with Len before they pick up that pen, they put the pens down, and we get our Hulk smash arms out, and we go like this, plum. And again, and again, and again. If it's my lowest 20% of children, I will be saying, my turn, watch me. Our turn, your turn. My turn, our turn, your turn, because they need that scaffolding and that support. And it's so important that they're not looking at the screen when you're doing that oral blending and segmenting. They're looking at you, they're looking at your mouth and how you pronounce those sounds. And actually, the more times that we do my turn, our turn, your turn, the mirror neurons that children have in their brains, they literally copy what we're doing and build up those learning connections. Top tip, over rehearsal of oral blending and segmenting. Now, it's Gareth, isn't it? I've got Gareth here with me. Gareth, he can hear the sounds in his words really well. He needs to look at his maths to see and spell. So another key top tip, bit of spelling maths, making sure that children can use them and use them proficiently and efficiently to be able, I can't remember what a P looks like. It's there because I've got my P, perfect panda, and my and my under the umbrella, and my magical mouse. And we've got all the little pictures underneath those spellings. So if you can remember magical mouse, you can see the mouse and then remember what the spelling looks like. So they are 2 key tips. It's a short-term pain for a very long-term game, and suddenly you'll see children's writing progressing and confidence to write as well. What we're all about is about commitment. It's about consistency, fidelity. I'll talk to you about fidelity a bit later, but creativity. You make Supersonic meet the needs of your children, not the other way around. It's also magical, it's memorable, and lots of movement. I have my children standing up throughout lessons, they're moving, they're doing the super segments, they have the bottom phonics fingers, they're wiggling around, they're going to read. I'm not going to sing with live, but they wiggle around, we're going to read, wriggle around, we're going to read with speed, and they read with speed. Or as one of my little boys who I teach on a Tuesday and a Wednesday says, he reads with speed. He's very cool about that. Okay, so phonological awareness. So important. No flashcards allowed. This is the beginning foundation of phonics. You've got rhyming. So we've got tag and bag, and len and ben, and bat and hat. Children need to be able to tune into those words. So I'm going to do this with the two gentlemen here in front of me. Who's in the loo? There's a terrible cue. Is it an elephant having a? You can say it, it's okay. But children need to be able to fill in those rhyme strings. Children that are good at rhyme are good readers and writers eventually. So if I was going to your nursery or reception class, I could literally point out which children were going to be expected or at greater depth in year 1 and year 2 because of their rhyming ability when they are in foundation stage. It's a time optimum period in the brain to build those learning connections because it's in the listening and attention part of the brain. So we need to make sure that we're wrapping children in rhyme, and that's what Supersonic does as well as the rest. So rhyme all the time, wrap them in rhyme. If you are a school leader right now, what you want to be thinking about is, where is rhyme across my school? Yes, it's important in foundation stage, but actually, where is it in year 1, year 2, year 3, up to year 6? What does that look like across the curriculum? What does that look like in geography? What does it look like in science? What does it look like in maths? Because rhyming helps us remember things. The stronger we are in rhyme, we'll develop more vocabulary, it will improve our writing, it will improve our reading and our speaking and listening. Rhythm, lots of chunks in words, so panda, underpants and crocodile. It's important that children can hear the chunks and the beats in the word so that when they go to write those words, they know to chunk it. So I was teaching a lesson last week, which the children love doing. We're doing shampoo. It's got shampoo. So we held sham in one hand and we held poo in the other, which we thought was hilarious. And then we hold it sham and poo, and then we put them together, shampoo. So it's really important that the early stages of listening, that they can tune into the beats and the syllables of the words and know that a panda begins with a p, like a pen does. Underpants begins with a as does umbrella, and crocodile begins with a k, just like cake. So they need to be able to do that rhythm and rhyme and alliteration. And then they need to be able to do this oral blending and segmenting. Now, I know that you're probably sitting there going, the amount of times that you sat in front of children doing robot arms, and we go like this. So we don't have flashcards allowed, but they're just to give you an idea of how we've broken that word up. Shop. You've probably done robot arms 101 million times. I know I have. So we could jazz it up with phonic fingers. Shop. Still again, I've done that hundreds of times. I'm now a year 1 boy, and I still need to orally blend and segment before I pick up my pen. So Spider-Man fingers, it's always going to get them excited. So we've got den, den. Or you've got the Hulk smash for jam, jam. Or we've got swords, pirate swords, and we can chop up the word jam. And as long as it's a 1, 2, 3 and a blend, happy days. So there are a few which I am not going to do because I would lose all my professional dignity right now. But there's the I'll do 2. I'll do the swim and I will do the disco dancing. So jam. I'm hoping none of my family are tuned into this. And den we could do go for a swim. Den. That is crucial. Before children start on the simple simple part of the alphabet code, of systematic synthetic phonics, they need to be able to rhyme. They need alliteration. They need to be skilled in alliteration, and they need to be skilled in oral blending and segmenting. If they are not, you will end up teaching children in year 1, who I am teaching right now. We've had a success story, but in September, I picked them up and they should not be the lowest 20%. And the reason that they are is that this wasn't paid enough attention to, because the pressure was on to start learning the spellings for the sounds. These are the foundations. These pave the way for reading and writing. So if you speak to any architects, and this building that we're in now, if we didn't have really strong foundations, and the foundations are probably the most intricate and most expensive part of a build, if we don't get it right now, then actually it's much more expensive to fix it later on. So the foundations are key, and that's why we need to protect phonics time. That's why everybody needs to, it's everybody's business about phonics, and that everybody knows about that. So it's really, really key. And hold on to that. You know, I get asked all the time, well, what do Ofsted want? Or what does our school improvement officer want? Think about what your children need, what they want and they need, where they are and where they need to get to, and how you're going to do it. And think about the why. Always think about the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? How is this impactful for our children? What have we got? What's our intent? What's our implementation? And then what is the impact? What, you know, and have those milestones. So if I was doing a live sort of interaction here, I'd be saying, how many sounds are there in the English language? But I'm just going to tell you, there's 44 sounds. So there are only 44 sounds in the words that we speak. It's a phoneme. So when national strategies 10 years ago introduced letters and sounds, they insisted that we use the word grapheme and phoneme. And our parents were kind of saying, what have you been doing today? And been learning my graphemes and my phonemes and my phonemes and my graphemes. And like, what? Lessons learned from lockdown would suggest that parents just want us to get rid of that terminology that they find confusing. In Supersonic, we talk about, today we're going to listen to a sound and we're learning the spelling for that. As simple as that. However, some schools feel that they want to use that terminology. So we say, today we're going to listen to the phoneme, the sound we can hear in a word, and now we're going to look at the grapheme, the spelling that we can see. Don't take it for granted that your children understand what you're talking about when you say phonemes and graphemes. And sometimes when I've observed phonics sessions, even the teachers are getting them mixed up. And where we're showing flashcards saying, and this is the phoneme for groovy glasses. Well, actually, no, it's not. That's the grapheme. It's not the phoneme. The phoneme is what we can hear. The grapheme is what we can see. And what we're doing in phonics is fusing that part, those parts of the brain together. Right. So just going back. There we go. So fox has got 3 sounds in it. A nap has got 3 sounds in it. But boat has got 3 sounds in it. And we've got our digraph here. And I do use the word digraph because we've got a cool way of doing it. We say to the children, they go say to me, Mrs. Lucas, it's 2 letters, it makes 1 sound, and they get their digraph and go, it's a digraph. And they're more than happy using that because there's an explanation and a physical multisensory movement to go with it. I'll just put it out there now, and I probably don't write it down. How many, are they able to put things into the chat at all? Be interesting to see. Right, how many phonemes are there in the word chimpanzee? I'll leave that to you. Not chunks, beats, or syllables. How many phonemes are there in there? Okay. Saying the sounds clearly and precisely. No schwarring in phonics. It sounds very posh, doesn't it? Basically, if I pronounce this here and said a squishy strawberry, I would be schwarring. That is not the correct way to pronounce the sound. It's not s. And it's that that comes out. And I've actually trained down south quite a bit recently and said, oh no, we don't schwa down south. I think it's just you guys up north. No, incorrect, inaccurate. So it's squishy strawberry. You've got amazing apple. They pretend to eat the apple. Terrific tiger is doing the pounce. We've got a perfect panda. It in the igloo. Naughty nose. Magical mouse. And oh, the dinosaurs, it should be a digger, apologies, but we do dangerous digger. So it means that when Gareth is looking at his spelling map because he can hear the sounds in his words really well. He looks at his map to see and spell. But if he's looking for a he sees the tiger and goes, oh, it's terrific tiger, I can hear that. He sees the tiger and then he remembers what the spelling looks like. And that's not cheating. It's really important that they actually have that opportunity to build those learning connections. The analogy that I would give is this. Imagine I was about to teach you guys emoji phonics, and you had to remember that the wink of the eye was a s, the sticky out tongue was an a, the crying face was a t, okay? You would need lots and lots and lots of repetition to remember that. And throughout a day, throughout a week, you're not just going to remember it on a one-off. So those maths aren't cheating. And actually, lots of schools have said, do you know what, actually, that's had a huge impact for us, because we used to just give it to our SEND children or our lowest 20%, but actually it's improving writing for all our children. So for example, a little boy had his phase 2 and phase 3 maths with his 44 sounds, or at least one spelling for the 44 sounds of the English language on it. And he was writing, who's been eating my porridge? And he wanted to know what an oo looked like and an e, and we hadn't got there yet. We were only at the end of phase 2. So I very quickly said, right, let's have a sneak peek. And we turned over his mat and I said, this is oo, and you've got the poo on the moon. So we go oo, 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 a poo on the moon, and eat the sweets. And he could see the sweets, he could see the moon, he remembered those, and actually he applied that in his writing. So we're doing like pre-exposure as and when it arises in those teachable moments. Okay, a grapheme, the spelling that we can see. Okay, so we listen to the sound and then we activate that part of the brain with the children by, we listen with Len with the super segment and brilliant blend. And then we start to do the graphemes and show them what they look like. There are 176 spellings in the English language. If you were learning to read or write in Italian, forgive me if I'm wrong, but approximately there are 18 speech sounds and there are 18 spellings. That's it. We are working with 44 speech sounds and 176, and our government still want us to read by 6. Okay, so we've got to get it right, and we've got to make sure that phonics is lively, it's engaging, it's fun, it's memorable for children. Not to a stage where it's cognitive overload, where it's like a party entertainer that has no behaviour management whatsoever. Sorry, party entertainers out there, all the teachers at the party rocking in their corner. But lively and engaging, and actually maximum interaction and participation from the child to the adult. So I had an email yesterday saying, why is there no sound on the PowerPoints or on the lessons? Because I need children to look at the shape of my mouth. So I was teaching, it's a very hard sound to pronounce. And up until the age of 6, and unfortunately, children's front teeth fall out at the age of 6, and you've got to put your tongue to your teeth to be able to say that sound. So they say instead. So we say to the children, it's the only time you can stick your tongue out at me. And they need to, so when I'm doing oo and e, ah, or, they can see the shape of your mouth and they mirror that. So that's why it's so important that they see that. 176 spellings. There are approximately 10 or 11 spellings for A. I'll let you work that out yourself, Google it. For ice cream sundae, rain, straight, wait, neighbour, vain, great, they. There's some to give you an example. Some spellings are very common, and that's what we teach in phonics. We teach the most common spellings for the sound. So I think there's 5 common spellings for the sound A in a word, but there are actually nearly 10 or 11. I don't know many children that are going to tell you that they went to Gaelic football and they had an ice cream sundae in their writing. But if they did, for whatever reason, because that could happen, it's true scenario, what they could do is just as that teachable moment arises, it's another spelling for A. So like AIGH, there's not many there as in straight. So it's not worth teaching full phonics lessons. We can do it through common exception words, tricky words, and also arisable teachable moments. Okay, and it's the simple to the complex. So in basics 2 and basics 3, we teach at least 1 spelling for the 44 sounds of the English language. with CVC words, so 3 sound words. Phase 4, or the basics 4, adjacent consonants. The higher levels 5, it sounds the same, but it looks different. Really easy, simple way, regardless of what phonics scheme you're using. It sounds the same, looks different. It's the most simple way to get children to realise that that spelling there, it sounds like an A, but it looks like an AI, an AY, and a, as we do the split, digraph. Then we've also got, if you think about the word pie and thief, so if you were to write those down and circle the IE, it looks the same, but it sounds different. It can sound like an I, it can sound like an E, it can sound like an I, it can sound like an E. Write down the spelling A or A, okay? It can sound like an A, it can sound like an A, so as in angel, A for apple, A for angel, but also it can sound like an O, as in wasp. Okay, so it can sound like an A, it can sound like an A, it can sound like an O. That was quite hard to remember, but that's where it looks the same, but it sounds different. Again, just simple ways to communicate to children quite challenging concepts of our alphabet code, especially when they're only 5, 6, and 7. Decodable readers, it's everywhere right now. Every time I log onto my Facebook, there's something about decodable readers, or there's an email, Anna, what's going on with decodable readers? There's a reading guidance that's come out from the Department for Education. Can I just point the word out? Guidance, okay? So it's up to you to interpret that guidance in the context of your school and your children. But one of the things, and to be fair, that's been out since the matching decodable text now has been sort of a key priority. I know lockdown happened, but before lockdown, a key priority for an early reading deep dive. So I've got lots of emails, lots of phone calls, what should we do? I had a head on the phone today, so I'm getting myself in knots about it. I was like, don't, it's fine. Basically, unfortunately, some reading schemes are where at the very early stages, so you're looking like pink and red books, book bands, you might open it and there might be a surprise phase 5 word in there. So that can't be at the beginning stages. So when I went into a school last week, they just said, we just don't know where to start. And she kept saying, but that's a pink book and that's a red book. And I was like, I know it is, but phonetically, it's a phase 5 book. So what we did was we went through about, must have been about 1,000 books in sets. And I was literally going, right, phase 5, group 2, phase 5, group 1, that's phase 4, that's phase 3. And we did a whole, well, you can see there, we had all that space there and we literally put them all out and then rejig them. They just need labeling now. And then they'll look absolutely beautiful and everyone will have book envy. But they are organized into the basics, group 1, group 2, group 3. So Gareth here has just been taught SATP. You'll have, sorry, this week. It's Thursday, isn't it? So tomorrow, Gareth will take home a book where he can practice at home with his mum and dad because he's been taught that. Now, the reason Gareth can have that is because he keeps up with his phonics lessons and he's really, really good at it. He's super chuffed now, aren't you? Okay. However, I've got another child who might struggle with that. So what we do is he has this week, then he has a bridge of reading it at school with a familiar adult, a skilled adult who can help him through, and then he takes it home. You will notice that we talk about Big Cat Collins quite a lot, Collins Big Cat books. As part of validation, we did have to affiliate with a particular scheme and show where our progression matched theirs, and we did that. So these books we would highly recommend. However, these books here are a mismatch of Oxford Reading Tree, Floppy Phonics, Project X, Fireflies, Dandelion Readers, oh goodness, Phonics Bug, Songbirds. I'm racking my brains now. All sorts, lots and lots of books. And literally, we just broke them down into group 1, group 2, group 3, so that all the adults know that if there's books in that basket there, then I can assign that book to that child. And it's their, what would be the word? It's their secure phonic knowledge, okay? So I want to send home books where they're doing their secure phonic knowledge with their parents and that they are fully decodable. If they are not fully decodable, it encourages children, especially your lowest 20%, to guess and to use the searchlight model strategies where they're trying to use contextual clues and the pictures as well. And we need children to be using phonics as a first and fast approach at that very beginning stage of phonics in reception and year 1 as they move from the simple to the complex. So just make sure they match. The only books that were thrown out here, because the head teacher came in and said, be ruthless. We've got so many books, some of them are 20, 25 years old. And there were dog-eared ones, there were pages falling out. And what does that say to a child that's taking a book home that is in that condition? So yes, there was a pile of books that went, and that was okay. But the rest remained because we made them fit the decodable level. There were some anomalies and discrepancies, but I'm coming back to that next week with them. I think our brains were blown because we'd spent about six full hours on this. You can then very easily see where you need to supplement your reading. So it was very clear. I don't know if you can see here, but this was phase, I think that was phase 2 or 3. But basically, phase 2, very early phase 2, the group 1 to 3 barely had any books at all. And that is the most crucial part. You know, that's when children are using their oral blending and segmenting skills and that crucial application into reading and writing. And they need to experience success right from the start in order to be able to carry on with that and feel like their own self-worth. I am a good reader. I am really good at this. And if I keep on thinking, I am really good at this, I am really good at this, then I can do it. And it's that can-do ethos and approach. Hence the reason, going back to phonological awareness earlier, with regards to, what did I say? The starting children too soon. Actually, you're asking them to do something every day that they cannot do. And they're those children that stay in that perpetuating cycle of the early stages of phonics, who you can now picture them in year 1. And actually, if we'd have just given them more time and support or boosted them with that phonological awareness, they would be flying with their phonics now and not struggling and taking a bit of a nosedive. Application into storybooks. I mentioned this earlier. Ooh, poo in the zoo. Obviously, we've got to do that one. The Queen's knickers. You can see there's a bit of a theme going on here. Cinderella's bum. Who doesn't want to say bum? Children love saying rude words. Poo, wee, bum, etc. I'm not suggesting that you do all books like that, but I've just taught the spelling for the sound O as in soap. So I'm going to read all the floats on Noah's boat. I've just done IGH. I've got the Lighthouse Keeper's lunch. So just think about your text, and you're going to be a bit annoyed with me I'm going to afflict something on you by the end of the day. Think about your progression in phonics and think about that wider local environment. So near me, back in Manchester, we have a West 1 and we have a range there, okay? So I look at the word range and I'm saying, right, that is where it looks the same, but it sounds different. It can sound like a G or it can sound like a J, okay? And in the range, it makes a J sound. We've got a little, that's new, not been in there yet. But actually, when I'm teaching the spelling for the sound ul, we've got little. So start thinking about your children's wider environment. I've got a co-op on the corner, and the co-op, it looks the same, but it sounds different. It can sound like an O, and it can sound like an O. So you can bring those strategies. So children don't think that phonics is just in that vortex, which is revisit, review, teach, practice, and apply. Actually, it's in their storybooks. It's in their wider environment, so around the room, looking for those around the room, but actually their wider living real life environment. Double E, CBeebies. There's not a child that doesn't know that. The Golden Arches, there's not a child that doesn't recognize that from a very, very early stage. There's not a child that wouldn't be able to tell you that that's his Netflix. So if I'm doing or 2-track words like net and flick, so net and flicks and bringing it together, then actually I would say, look, it's in this word here too. Buzz Lightyear, double Z, Z, and IGH, one of our trigraphs. 3 letters makes one sound, it's a trigraph. Showing them what it looks like in real life, that is really, really key. And again, regardless of any scheme you're using, I'm giving you top tips for bringing phonics into real life. So children don't just think that they do phonics and they read SIDS NITs and they're a good reader. It's that wider language environment for our children. Play. Did you know that it takes 400 repetitions to make a brand new learning connection, unless it's done through play, and this is scientific research, between 10 and 20 times. So this morning I arrived and I met the lovely Clevertouch team, and I have used boards like this before, and actually on Monday I was actually teaching using a Clevertouch board, but they very quickly just showed me all the different features, and one of the colleagues said to me, it's probably best if you do it, and actually you saw me, I played with it, and now I can use it. But play. We've got application stations here. We've got small world, using things for building. What other things can you use for building words? Green bottle tops are great. Just make sure you wash them because they start smelling otherwise. You can build using cars. You can build using shells, plant pots, spoons, wooden spoons, all sorts, logs. You can see here on our blending towers here, or tricky word towers we've got there where they've built the word mats on little logs. And you can see that there's that really natural sort of woodland feel to it all. Oh, sorry. Let me just go back to there. They are paper cups. They're great for building. So they go cat. These are shot glasses from Asda. If you get a plastic box and turn it upside down and put some battery fairy lights in, you can make your own light box. And if you write the spellings for the sound, it lights up the phonics. Sorry, I'm sort of share that with you on their paper plates. So very inexpensive stuff for building. Okay, supporting the lowest 20% and the cusp of keep up. Okay, so this is a group of children I was teaching a couple of weeks ago, and I was teaching them there's not one, not two, but 3 spellings for the sound E. And we were doing choose to use spellings. They had that in the morning with their teacher, and I was doing post teach with them, because we know that that retention of that learning doesn't continue when we come back to it tomorrow. But because we've done post teach, now they've got it, because they're having like a double whammy of it. Deployment of adults, things to consider with your lowest 20%. How are you protecting phonics time? Is everybody trained in phonics, regardless of whether you are in key stage 1 or key stage 2? Because actually, with isolation, sickness, courses, one person could be off or out and the whole system goes. So who's going to parachute in and teach those children? Who have we got that can do that? So your deployment of adults is absolutely key. Who, where and when is absolutely key as well. So 9 o'clock in the morning, Gareth doesn't rock in till 9:20 most days, even though we've done everything we can to get him there. Phonics is at 9 o'clock. He's my lowest 20%. He's missing phonics every day. I need to reconsider that. Where are you being taught using really good, engaging technology that's interactive, and we can play with that? Or am I in a dingy room because that's the only space in the school that's available right now? Okay. So the who's taking Gareth, lowest 20%, he needs teacher input, whether it's the pre-teach and the post-teach, or whether it's the teach. I can't take my eye off the ball with Gareth and his group, because they are my lowest 20%, they're my most disadvantaged and vulnerable children, and I am accountable as the class teacher. So I desperately need that input with them. How many children are in that group? I was teaching a group of 10 boys in year 2, and we had a meeting, and I teach phonics every day, and I feel very confident teaching phonics, but the makeup of that 10 group of boys didn't gel very well together. So I just said, I'm going to have to make the groups smaller to get an impact for them. Rather than saying you're going to intervene and do boosters, okay, key phonic, it says VILPs, very important little people, okay? So I say, who's going to come and play phonics with me? Where are my key phonic VIPs? And off they come. And they skip towards those lessons. They think it's like wonderful. They feel really special that they're coming to those lessons, rather than, oh, I'm missing out on the PE because I've got to go to that. And that's where I'll go back to invisible barriers to learning. Targeted, precise and impactful. If I'm being taken out of PE and music and art and geography and science and history and maybe some maths and English in the morning for the sake of phonics, which we know is going to have an impact across the rest of the curriculum, it's got to be absolutely tip top. It's got to be first class and it's got to have an impact. And we need to measure that impact. It needs to be measurable. So thinking about that during pupil progress meetings. Are they getting pre-teach? Are they getting post-teach? Some children will need pre-teach, their teach and their post-teach. Corey Lee said to me the other week, Mrs. Lucas, my head is blown. He's from Bolton. He said, my head is blown. He said, one day, 4 phonics. And he did. He'd had pre-teach, he'd had his teacher, he'd had me in the afternoon, and then he had phonics club. And the poor children had me like for about 5 hours over 2 days intensive. Went back this week, they remembered from last week. So we've worked out, and these are all boys as well, so I'm doing boy-friendly phonics with them. I'll show you some of that in a moment. But normally I would be taking a couple of steps forward over 2 days and a couple of steps back and having to go back over it. It was wonderful this week to see how they'd maintained that. And what was really interesting was the professional dialogue that we're having with his teachers, the teaching assistants and the teacher saying, right, they've done this with me. So can you do A, B, and C? Can you revisit and review this? I'll be back in Tuesday. They need to remember it. I gave them, as it's not on there, really simple, just a sticker with the, so I done they stuck them on their jumpers. So they're walking around school, the cleaner's saying, what spellings have you been doing? The cook says, what have you been doing? The head teacher says, the deputy head says, the caretaker says, the sports coach says, everybody knows. And all it was a sticky label. And I only did that because for my own sake, to remind me, because I'm teaching so many children, but actually all the teaching assistants and teachers saying, that really works. What a simple thing. Invisible barriers to learning. So are you on a main road, busy road? We've got all the windows open, it's COVID, we need to keep everywhere circulated. We've got playgrounds, we've got PE going on outside, PE going on in the hall. Stop and think when that phonics is happening, is the environment conducive to listening skills? Can those lowest 20% hear the sounds in those words really well? And if not, that is why you would implement a sound field system such as a Juno to be able to enhance and amplify the sounds. And it has a huge impact for SEND and your lowest 20%. Key barriers to learning, also the visual overload as well. So I was teaching a little group in reception a couple of years ago. I'm thinking, why aren't they getting it? And I realised that there's a pirate ship outside and all the nursery children were on it. So there was the visual, I had to take that visual away from them and just kind of make sure that that environment was conducive to learning. Sometimes in classes, I've got a group over here, and I'm in the middle here. I am getting all that phonic chatter from that side of the room, coming into the middle of the room. You need quiet, communication-friendly spaces to teach those. Games and activities, clubs, so phonics clubs after school, the gang, where's my phonics gang? They love it. My boys come in, they do this, come on, right, we're gonna do phonics club, we're in our special gang, and they do games and activities, and having year 6 buddies, phonics buddies. QR codes are great as well. So if you like ictgames.com or any like sort of phonic games that are out there, make a QR code of it, send those home. The children can literally get a parent's phone or iPads, turn on the camera, scan it, and it takes them straight to that game. Parents, for those our lowest 20%, we're actually getting those parents in on a one-to-one, saying like over the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and we are giving really like short time measured targets that are attainable but measurable, and then we can go from there. I can't wait for 6 weeks to find out where my lowest 20% are. I need my eye on the ball with them all the time. 5-minute follow-up phonics for some children, and Microphonic Burst. So all the games on Supersonic, but all the games that you've probably got, don't throw all the letters and sounds games that you've got now, like matching words to pictures and all the other buried treasure and those types of things. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Morning jobs, so you come in and you go straight to a morning job, and that is a phonic activity that's supported by an adult if necessary. I've mentioned the stickers, that just was I don't know, just a little idea that kind of works quite well. Interest as a catalyst for learning. These work out at 23p from Amazon each, and it's a little torch that goes on the finger, and we call them spelling spotlights. And the children literally go plum, and they do it for reading, they do it for their spelling maths. The engagement that I got from that compared to the engagement without that has had a real impact. This is my Supersonic Phonic Friends escape room. So what we did was we stuck the spellings that we were learning. They had to go and get them in a relay race. We put them on the other door. We put them in order. They then got to go into this room because there were 2 doors. Now I was going to send them all in together, and then something made me think, nah, that's going to end in disaster. So they had a 5-minute timer. Timers are great, especially for boys. I've got time and competition. That's what I've instilled with my boys. And as soon as it's competition and points mean prizes, I am getting a lot more engagement from them. And the Phonics gang, they said, come on, we're Mrs. Lucas's Phonics gang, and they love that in the after school clubs. But the going back to here, so they went in then into the room, it was pitch black, and the torch, and these here were on the floor, and there were words matching these spellings for the sounds. They had to get in, get out, read it to their friend. If they got it right, I put it into the right box. If they got it wrong, I put it in the wrong box, so I could do follow-up work with them afterwards. But just putting that physical nature in with them, in and out, and just adding that extra little bit of magic that is a torch. Every child loves getting a torch. Lots of them did want to stand in the room doing funny faces when they went in as partners, but that's another thing altogether. And then these chatterboxes, who remembers playing with these? Everyone, these are old school, okay? But actually phonic chatterboxes where they got their spellings that they're learning, the ones that they are going to learn, and then words to read. So it's like a pre-teach and post-teach. So they work really well as well. We know, especially for boys, and actually if you think about the makeup of your lowest 20%, they tend to be, right? I'm not making an assumption, but they do tend to be your boys. iPads and technology, let's use it to enhance teaching and learning for our children. We know that boys that read on a screen are far more engaged in reading and want to read more when they've got the screen in front of them. And I know sometimes screen time is the root of all evil, but actually let's use it to the best of its ability to enhance teaching and learning. Okay, just to finish off really about the lowest 20% and you cusp of catch up. Just think, keep up, sorry, I don't like the word catch up, keep up. Just think, what are we doing? Is it working? How can we think differently? What do these children need? What makes them tick? What works well for them? What else do we need? So we know that we're putting a lot of time and effort in with these, our lowest 20%, but it's for a greater good. It's going to help them access and flourish and be wonderful learners across the curriculum and that broad and balanced curriculum. And without phonics and reading and writing, they're going to struggle to access the rest of their curriculum as well. So what are we doing? Is it working? Can we think differently? And one phrase that I hear in primary schools and secondary schools, but we've always done it like this. And I think Einstein talks about, and I'm not saying anyone's stupid, let me just put this, but he talks about about stupidity, doing the same thing and expect it over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So what are they getting extra over and above? They are so important, those children, because we don't want them to be in our lowest 20%. We want them to keep up with their reading and their writing. Just some mnemonics, really helpful stuff, especially for your lowest 20%. These are absolutely fantastic. 5-minute phonics, they chop the word up, they build it, they read it, they write it, and then they go shh, 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 shh. They interact with the spelling for the sound shh about 20 times in 5 minutes. Microphonic burst, think about brain cell activity where they come together. It's like a muscle. Every time it's being used, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that has a huge impact. They love doing those, and it's 5-minute phonics. Paper phone frames, great to practice and apply. So lowest 20%, 5-minute follow-up. Sound envelopes, I sometimes laminate these so they can write them in on like a whiteboard and then they wipe them off, or they're literally building those, or I put bottle tops on top of here because they're free and recyclable, and they write the spellings on, and they literally build, so they're physically building. Reading cards, read with sound buttons, ship, but read with speed, we read with speed, shed, okay? Sorry, I know that's ship, read with speed, ship. And adding that extra layer of automaticity and fluency for children has a big impact in their reading. So we read, we sound out, if in doubt, sound it out, and then we're going to read with speed. So you've got reading cards with and without a flashcard, sound buttons. You've got read with Rex match, where they can chop things up, match them up, matching the words to the pictures. Writing cards, we write with all our might, and we write with Ron. Bingo, matching pairs, lottos with the sounds, with the words, with the sounds, and also with short, clever captions. Lots of games that you can use. What can you see in the phonic trees? They love playing that one. Weekly parent newsletters. And then the benefits. What are the benefits of good quality, first class teaching of phonics? Are all your children getting a first class teaching and learning experience of phonics every single day, and that no child is being disadvantaged in any way by where, who, and when they are being taught, and with what form of technology or not technology? But let's inject new life into the teaching of phonics. You know, we want it to be joyful. You've got children doing, let's segment with Seb and build with Bill, and they love writing with all their might and lots of movement, engaging, exciting. We know that Supersonic is exceptional and unique in the grand scheme of things right now. That all our characters that are the hooks for learning, the phonics subject knowledge through the characters, because lots of phonics historically may have been, you know, that this is the spelling for the sound, now let's write it. And actually, phonics is about listen, recognize, build, read, write. So that's why we've got Len, listen with Len. We see it with Sam, we segment with Seb, we build with Bill, we blend with Ben, we write with Rex, and we read with Rex, and we write with Ron. Absolute consistency is absolutely guaranteed. Teaching and learning made simple, reduced workload, parental engagement, supporting resources for your lowest 20% and any other children that need support. We've got Super 6, which I can't even get into today, fun physical indoor and outdoor games, and so much more. Okay. Just remember those words. It's about commitment, consistency, creativity, magical, memorable, and movement. And that is, in a nutshell, a whistle-stop tour of a little bit of Supersonic Phonic Friends, but actually all those things that can be applied to any systematic synthetic phonics scheme. It's got to be joyful. It's got to be fun and memorable for our children. So I think there's about 2 or 3 questions that have been put into the chat, which I think Karina's going to ask me. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah. And if your question doesn't get chosen, do not worry. I've been told that we're going to do another session, probably via Zoom this time, with like a bit of a Q&A session that we can send out to you after today. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Anna. The first question, when you talk about the lowest 20%, do you mean the lowest 20% nationally, or those in the school? Because in this person's school, they have a higher number of children in the lowest 20% nationally.
Yeah, have we got any questions, Karina?
Yeah, can you not hear me? Can you hear me?
There normally are lots. So is it coming up in the chat?
Might be that we have to follow these up.
Q&A at the bottom.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll read them out to you.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna, so the first question is from Caroline Callis. When you talk about the lowest 20%, do you mean those who are in the lowest 20% nationally or those in our school? In my school, we have a much higher number of children in the lowest 20% nationally. Is that
Whoa.
tongue twister for you?
Yeah, right. Thanks. Is it Caroline, did you say? Thanks for that, Caroline. Nothing like putting me on the spot there. It is a question that actually I would like to come back to and think about very carefully. I think it's about the lowest 20% of children in your school. And I think you need to look at it in a school context, but you also need to measure it against the national context as well. But really, it's those children, like, I don't even want to call them the lowest 20%. That's just like the buzzword right now. It's those children that need extra support to keep up with their phonics, to be able to reach the expectations of the early learning goal. So phase 3, mastery of phase 3, sorry, at the end of reception. That's where they can listen, recognize, build, read and write, read decodable text, write phonetically plausible words. That's the early learning goal. Phase 4 and phase 5 in year 1, and then they would meet the standards as expected for the year groups. But I am aware, just as a caveat, that we are playing this bounce back at the moment because of the interruption of education because of COVID. So schools have got different sort of timelines and measuring themselves against progress, and don't beat yourselves up about attainment right now. It's very much about progress.
So our next question is from Amber. Will there be anything made for phase 6 and part B of that? Is it just for reception and year 1?
Lovely. Okay, thanks, Amber, you say. Right, okay, Amber, there is, we have obviously had to concentrate on getting ready for validation because that was sprung on us last April, and we really had to focus on that as part of our programme. What we've done in Supersonic is we've got the Key Stage 1 National Curriculum Spelling Appendices, and we've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and literally gone, right, well, that's phase 2, that's phase 3, that's phase 4, phase 5, etc. So we've taken everything out that is phonics, and that's what's on Supersonic Phonic Friends. However, by September 2022, we hope to have what the equivalent of phase 6 was, because Amber, you'll well know that it was a very flimsy, fluffy document that wasn't very clear, as was support for spelling. But we will have lessons to make sure that we cover all the rest of the year 1 and the year 2 objectives for compound words, prefixes, suffixes, possessive apostrophes, contractions, common exception words. So that will be on our website, and it's not going to be an additional cost. It's just part of the programme, and it will be called Susie's Spelling Rules. In year 2, at this moment in time, because of the COVID, I hate saying COVID, I'm sick of saying COVID, because of what has happened over the past few years, we're finding that a lot of our year 2 children do need to be retaught phase 5 as well. But in the meantime, Amber, if you think about what you had, so you might have had no nonsense spelling, what were you using for year 2 spelling pre this, and just use that as an interim? What's worked well for you so far?
Yeah, and then we have Jack that says, how does the technology work with your existing setup? How well is that working?
Bear with me. I will show you, if that's okay. Full screen mirror.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so our technology works like this. So when you get your subscription, you click on your dashboard while you sign in, you click on your dashboard, there's Len. We listen with Len's, we don't need a pen, and Len's with us every step of the way. And basically you click on the basics 2 here, start this phase, and you can choose your spellings. So there's all your spellings for the sound for phase, the basics 2. So let's click on group 5. You can then choose which spelling you're going to teach. One thing I will say, which I haven't said, when you start like a week, so say I was about to teach you guys this for the week, I say, this week we are going to learn these spellings, and I'll tell them what they are. And today we're going to focus on this one. Okay, so you're giving them the kind of the expectations for the week, the overview. You've then got, am I teaching this in cursive, so with the lead-ins, or non-cursive? If it's reception, I would strongly advocate that it's non-cursive. You choose this spelling. You then go down, and you've got this lovely glowing book here, but if you go down here, I can print off a hard copy of the lesson. So say, for example, Gareth was teaching in the library and didn't have access to Clevertouch, but you can actually get portable ones of these that can move around. So I hear the conversation I was having this morning. If you didn't have that technology, then you would know that they're getting the same level of input, that same first class quality teaching and experience of phonics. And then literally you've got some of the resources that I just showed you earlier, only a few of them, but you've got all the resources that match that. If you want to access the lesson, you literally just click on here. It takes you to a SharePoint. You go to, so the lesson is actually, we have all the lesson plans, which you can print out. However, okay. Bear with me a second. There we go. I've just been called out on a safeguarding matter of urgency. So Gareth, very kindly, is going to parachute in and teach my phonics today. My planning is in my big Aldi bag for life. Okay, I'll get that out later. I don't have time to go and get that, so I say, Gareth, it's there. Could you do this for a revisit and review? There, and I've gone because I've got to do it. So we then, you literally click through. So we listen with Len, so you don't need a pen. What can we see in the phonic TV? A hat and a hedgehog, so we've got that alliteration. We do turn, talk and tell. 1, 2, 3, everybody tell me. Then we do our super segment and brilliant blend. We now see it with Sam. It's a very, very quick lesson. This is what it looks like. This is spelling, my turn, our turn, your turn. We then segment with Seb and build with Bill. So the children have to point to the screen, what's our new learning for today? And they have to blend it. I have to say to them about that, and that's a very special fruit that makes a very special drink. Then we read with Rex and we read with speed. It is in green so it can be seen, so all the new learning stands out. And then I demonstrate writing, so hot. And I'm going to say, oh, I can do this as well. Where's mine? Where is it? I learned how to do this today while I was playing. Have I done it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You tell me the sounds and I'll write the spelling. So what sound can you hear in hot? What's the first sound?
Oh.
Oh. Thank you. What I could do, I could have changed my colour of my pen if I wanted to, or just put a circle. And what's this spelling here? How are you learning for today? And then apparently, if I just do that, it just disappears, just like that. Okay. Oh, no, I need to get rid of it. I knew I would mess it up at some stage there. Okay. And then we've got the hum of the B. So I'm demonstrating that. And then I say to the children, right, who is ready to do supersonic phonic jobs? And this is the practice and the apply. But what we've done is rebranded it. So it's not like, right, we're going to practice on phonics. It's like, who's ready to write with all their might and read with speed? The supersonic phonic jobs. And they do 6 words, reading or writing them. By the end of it, we do, if it's right, if you get it right, we do give yourself a tick or fix it quick. And by the end of it, we've got our 6, so they all get their 6 and they all do a little dance for their friends and say, we've just done the supersonic 6. And then at the end of that, they then write that Sam has got his hat on. The word his is in blue because it's a tricky word that's not quite taught at that stage. So we say, it is in green so it can be seen. If it's in blue, I'll show you what to do. So they have a go at it, but they're not to feel frightened about it. Now, Gareth has written, Sam has got his hat on really quickly. So I asked him to, he knows that song because the son has got his hat on. So I asked him to finish that by saying, hip, 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 hooray. Sam has got his hat on and he's coming out to play. You finish writing that song, but you two guys there, you're still on Sam. We're writing So what I can do is I can extend my children. I don't want any child sitting there twiddling their thumbs waiting for other children. So you can either just say, you can make it shorter, you can keep it as it is, or you can extend it. And then at the end of that lesson, we say, what have we been learning today? We turn, talk and tell, we remember. And then the last thing is Cheeky Sneaky Sid. And Cheeky Sneaky Sid gives us a sneak peek of the learning for tomorrow, and we hide him around the room and we write the spelling B on his tummy.
White pen.
Oh,
Down a bit further.
Yeah, sorry, wrong one. There we go. There we go. So we write the foot on his tummy. And if you were looking at our handwriting stuff that goes the same, it would be down the branches, up and over the beehive. But that's another thing altogether. Handwriting needs to sit outside of phonics. That's the technical skill of writing. It's not listen, recognize, build, read, and write. So they get the sneak peek, and it's like a sneak preview to the learning for tomorrow. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay, that's a report for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
On the whole.